can touch.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. So, again, those Parsha Naso contains the story of Sota that we did last year. It's actually on YouTube if anyone wants to see that. This I'd like to go into a bit about Nazir. Okay, so Nazir is on page 758.
Careful how you pronounce it.
Nazir?
Yeah, careful how you pronounce it.
So, the Nazir is a very, very, the Nazirite is a very, very interesting parsha. Let's see what's going on over here. Yaf, you want to lead off for us on chapter 6, Perek Vav, וידבר השם.
וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, איש או אישה כי יפליל דור נדר, נזיר להזיר להשם. מיין ושחר יזיר, חומץ יין וחומץ שחר לא ישתה, וכל משרת ענבים לא ישתה, וענבים לחים ויבשים לא יאכל. כל ימי נזרו, מכל אשר יעשה מגפן היין, מחרצנים ועד זג לא יאכל.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's amazing, Yafi didn't read Hebrew before she started with this class.
Yeah.
And just listen to her now.
Yeah.
She sounds like an Israeli, you never would have known. You never would have known.
I can never follow what she says.
But she read it with expression.
Yes.
Yeah, with expression.
She read it with
You want to read
expression.
it?
You
Yeah.
understood
Take it away.
Oh, yeah.
And Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, a man or woman who shall dissociate himself by taking a Nazirite vow of abstinence for the sake of Hashem.
Interesting. So the English says disassociate himself. The Hebrew is ki yafli, when he will utter. Okay, but let's go on. We'll see.
We're going to talk about a Nazirite vow of abstinence
Yes.
for the sake of Hashem from new or age wine.
Okay. So what it means is I pledge I will be a Nazir. I will be a Nazirite. What does that mean?
Right.
These are the restrictions, or these are the parameters for me as a Nazirite.
All right. From new or aged wine shall he abstain, and he shall not drink vinegar of wine or vinegar of aged wine. Anything in which grapes have been steeped shall he not drink, and fresh and dried grapes shall he not eat. All the days of his abstinence, anything made from wine, grapes, even the pips or skins, he shall not eat.
Okay, so that's number one.
All right, so you can't be a wine connoisseur.
Right. Actually, we'll tell him to stay away from the vineyard. Right. Nothing at all. Even raisinets are not going to work for him.
Right, great.
Okay.
Nothing.
That's number one. Continue. Number two.
Okay.
Starting with verse 5. All the days
of his Nazirite vow, a razor shall not pass over his head, until the completion of the days that he will be a Nazirite for the sake of Hashem. Holy shall he be. The growth of hair on his head shall grow.
Okay. So until verse 5.
So he can't shave or he can't cut
Right,
hair.
exactly. Hair grows, no shaving, no trimming. Right? Now, until verse 5, we weren't sure how this person is viewed.
Yeah.
Is this a positive step?
Right.
Or is this a negative step? Verse 5 tells us, until the completion of his days, Asher Yazir La Hashem, right? He will make himself a Nazir for God. Kadosh Yihiyeh, holy shall he be. Gadel Pera Sarosho, that growth of hair on his head. Now, holy shall he be is actually referring to the hair will have a certain degree of holiness. Okay? Now, let's continue. So is he holy? Is the hair holy? Okay, let's continue.
Right. All the days of his abstinence for the sake of Hashem, he shall not come near a dead person.
That's number 3. Right? He cannot come in contact with anyone who is deceased. Yes, we spoke about this in the context of who else? Of not the Levium, the Kohanim.
Sorry.
Okay, so right away Right? We've never heard of anyone else not be able to be in contact with any drinks. We've never heard of anyone else having to grow their hair. We have heard of others not being able to come in contact with the deceased. And when we go further, it sharpens to his father.
To his father or to his mother, to his brother or to his sister. He shall not contaminate himself to them upon their death. For the crown of his God is upon his head.
Now it's interesting.
More than the
So we are not allowing him to deal with even a father, mother, brother, or sister. A regular Kohen cannot just go to the cemetery, cannot come in contact with the dead, but for a father, mother, sister, brother can.
Right.
Who cannot?
Nazirite.
A Nazirite, and who else? The Kohen Gadol, the high priest, the one Kohen Gadol. We have a whole tribe, well not tribe, the whole families of Kohanim. But there's one Kohen Gadol. So this Nazir is taking on the restrictions of the big kahuna, of the Kohen Gadol. Right? Yeah.
All the days of his abstinence, he is holy to Hashem.
Okay.
Okay, so what happens if he violates it?
At this point...
And it says only 30 days.
Okay, good. So, at all the days of his absence, he is holy to Hashem. At this point, we have sealed the deal. This guy is holy. This is something that is considered holy. At least at this point, we see that aspect. Okay, so Amy mentioned that we see it's 30 days. Actually, what the halacha is as follows, law is as follows. If a person says, I will be a Nazir, then without specifying the time duration, then the default is 30 days.
The minimum.
Okay?
The minimum. Okay.
Well, the default. If he says more, right? I believe, I'm not sure. Right? I think even less. Right? Then it will be what he has said it will be. The default.
Days, the minimum period.
And number 5 says
Yeah.
Yes, number 5. the
You
common.
can take more.
Yeah. Now, that is learned out. The Pasuk said, if you take a look in the Hebrew, we have Nazir Yihiyeh.
Will be.
Kadosh Yihiyeh, he will be. And the numerical value of Yihiyeh, Yud is 10, we have 2 Yuds, that's 20. Hey is 5, we have 2 5s, that's 30. So the Talmud learns out that the standard
Amazing.
is 30. Now what happens if
What does Yehiyah mean?
he will be?
He will be. Oh, and
But the
then
numerical
okay,
value of the
well,
word he will be is 30, so therefore we learn out he will be for 30.
Okay.
What happens if he messes up? Right? That's the next issue. Okay, Debbie, you want to take from on 761 in English?
Yamos meis alav befeta pitom, v'timei rosh nizro, v'gilach rosho b'yom taharato, b'yom hashvi'i yagalu cheno, u'b'yom hashmini yovi shtei torim, o shnei b'nei yonah, el ha-kohen el petach oel moed. ועשה הכהן אחד לחטאת ואחד לעולה וכיפר עליו מאשר חטא על הנפש וקידש את ראשו ביום ההוא.
Okay. Now let's see over here if we're going to see anything that indicates that maybe this wasn't the right move. Let's take that in English. Amy, have that if a person should die near him?
If a person should die near him with quick suddenness and contaminate his Nazirite head, he shall shave his head on the day he becomes purified. On the 7th day shall he shave it.
Okay, so the 7th day we know if a person becomes tamei mate, comes in contact with a mate, then it's a 7-day process with sprinkling of the red heifer, etc. It's a 7-day process to become purified. Okay? So therefore, he shall shave his head on the day he becomes purified, which is the 7th day he shall shave it. Continue.
On the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves to the Kohen, to the entrance of the tent meeting. The Kohen shall make one as a sin offering and one as an elevation offering, and he shall provide him atonement for having sinned regarding the person. And he shall sanctify his head on that day. He shall dedicate to Hashem.
Okay, so far he's bringing a sin offering, but we can understand why this particular Nazir is bringing a sin offering.
Right.
Why is he bringing a sin offering?
Because he got near a dead person.
He messed up. He got near a dead person. So he did not keep to the restrictions that he should have
But it's
kept
interesting,
to.
the word he says, if should die near him with quick suddenness.
Right.
Yeah.
If a guy drops dead near him, it's not, he doesn't know that's going to happen.
Correct.
He has no intent.
Correct.
But
Correct.
But too bad, right?
Yes, but to a degree too bad. Right? Meaning you didn't have to take this upon yourself.
Okay.
Right.
I want to know why. Why would somebody?
Good. So why would a person do this? And let's go a little bit. Okay. And let's go a little bit further. Let's go to now the completion of the term.
He shall dedicate to Hashem. That's where you want me to read.
Yeah, finish that.
The days of his abstinence, and he shall bring a sheep in its first year for a guilt offering. The first day shall fall aside, and for his abstinence had been contaminated.
So he's got to start the count all over again. Fair enough. Now, Eileen, let's go regular now. Verse 13.
Okay. This shall be the law of the Nazirite. On the day his abstinence is completed, he shall bring himself to the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall bring his offering to Hashem. One unblemished sheep in its first year as an elevation offering, one unblemished ewe in its first year as a sin offering, and one unblemished ram as a peace offering.
Oh, so what do we see now? Interesting. What do we see now? At the completion, hi Yanni, good morning. At the completion of his being a Nazir, now we're not talking about becoming tamei, messing up. Now we're simply at the completion. What does he do? He brings different sacrifices. Amongst them is a sin offering. So we need to try to get wrap our heads around, is he a kadosh? Or is he sinning, which necessitates the bringing of a sin offering? How do we view this person? How do we view, Yanni, we're discussing a person who takes a Nazirite pledge. Nazirite pledge means he becomes a Nazir, and because of that, he cannot have any wine or grape products. He lets his hair grow wild, and he is not allowed to come in contact with any of the dead. The same level that we demand of the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, that even to parents, even to siblings, not. So we're trying to get an idea. So why does a person do this?
But it's interesting. It's targeted very easily here. You can see it. He's sanctifying his head. It didn't say the rest of him.
Well, but yes, Dov. Actually, we did, because we had the pasuk 8. All the days of his abstinence, he is holy to Hashem. You're right. Verse 5 spoke about the holiness of his hair.
In his head.
Right? Of his head. But here we're saying he is holy to Hashem.
So head.
So it's not just the hair.
Yeah, but
He.
there's something key about this head deal.
Okay. So Amy asked, why? Why is a person doing this? And the understanding is, right, and also in the very first pasuk there, we had Nazir lahazir lahashem. He became a Nazir to God, right? It was a certain uplifted, he's coming lahashem, meaning the person feels that he or she is getting too enmeshed in olam hazeh, in this world, in this physical, sensual world. Therefore, he takes this Nazirite pledge. What does wine do? It relaxes us, and it also removes our inhibitions, and it often causes a relaxation of our discretion,
Focus.
of our focus, of our discretion. Right? The Gemara compares a person who gets angry to a person who is drunk. Right? And there is a certain lack of control when we're angry, and there's a lack of control when we're drunk. And when we're angry, we do certain things that we think are wise. And when we're drunk, we do certain things that we think are wise. We think we're offering some true profundities as we get onto our soapbox, right? But actually, we're not all that wise, we're not all that profound, and invariably, we look back on things that we did in our anger and said, that was not very bright. That did not work out. What I hoped to accomplish, probably this was more counterproductive. So on one hand, if a person feels that they're getting too involved in this world and is acting in a way which leans towards indiscretion, so then one of the aspects of the Nazirite pledge is stay far away from any of those types of beverages, any of those mind state affecting beverages.
Don't drink and drive. Now,
Don't drink and drive. Yes.
But he can't even have grape juice actually too.
No.
And Stu's in the middle. Yes.
Okay, so why do they talk about offering first a first year, let's see, an unblemished sheep, and then an unblemished ewe, and then an unblemished ram? It's like there's a progression in age there.
Yeah.
Is there any significance to that?
There definitely is.
Okay.
There definitely is. And in different places we discuss, well, there are the very simple animals, there are the stronger animals.
Right.
And I think Ramban discusses that, depending on your power station in society, that will determine the type of animal that you will bring, because remember, the animal is meant to be a proxy. Here it's all the simple ones, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay?
Rabbi,
Yes.
I understand the wine, but why the hair?
Okay. So the Gemara actually tells a story of a person. Well, the Gemara tells a story about a certain Kohen. Was it Shimon HaTzadik? I forget who it was. Who would never want to eat from the sin offering. Part of it was eaten by the Kohen. A sin offering brought by a Nazir. Because he was concerned that once this person made the pledge, and then the person messed up, he was concerned the person was starting to have second thoughts. Why did I ever do this in the first place? This was probably not the best idea, right? And therefore, that would affect the whole carbon. Would it be chulin la'azara, right? Has he gone back on this whole pledge? So the carbon should not have been brought. He never wanted to partake of it, except for one person. And they tell the story of that person. This person went down to a fountain to get to drink, right? to a well or a stream to drink, and he saw his reflection. And looking at his reflection, he said, "I am one gosh darn good-looking guy." That's what he said. Right? Keep in mind, they didn't have too many mirrors in those days. Right? But he said, "Wow, I am one good-looking fellow." And then he caught himself. And he said, "Why are you getting involved in a world that is not yours?" And he said, "I will become a Nazir." Okay? How much time do people spend at hairstylists? I mean, I spend about 4.5 minutes, but that's besides the point. For me, it's very, very simple. But
Talking about it,
right, one becomes unkempt. If you don't trim, you don't get a haircut, you don't shave, right? You become unkempt. You are no longer one gosh darn good looking guy or gal. You become, and that is a way of distancing oneself from the lures and attractions that this world presents and often tempts us with. So therefore, the growth of the hair is an affirmation that this is a shell. This is simply a shell of who I am. Now, on one hand, and this is going to be a point that's going to come out further. On one hand, we are supposed to present ourselves well. We are B'Tselem Elokim. We are in the image of God. And the Gemara, the Talmud relates the story that Hillel, I believe it was Hillel, was going very purposely to go do something. So his students understood that this was a learning moment. So they asked him, Rebbe, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to give honor to the Creator, to God, to the King. So they understood that that was an invitation for them to follow him and to learn how does one go give honor to the Creator. And he went to a bathhouse. And they assumed that he was going to the bathhouse on the way to going to give honor to the King, to the Creator. But that was it. That was where he was going. He was going to the bathhouse. So they said to him, Rebbe, how is going to the bathhouse giving honor to the King, to the Creator? And he explained, if there's a statue, it is a statue of the King, and that statue gets dirty, the bird passes by and does his thing. So doesn't one give honor to the King by cleaning and polishing that statue? So we are created, B'Tselem Elokim, we are created in the image of God. And therefore, by my going to the bathhouse and presenting myself in a proper, distinguished manner, I'm giving honor to the King. So we see here this dichotomy. Right? That if I get too involved, I should be kept. I should be kempt. I should make sure that I am presentable, that I am properly representing humankind, the Jewish people, B'Tselem Elokim, one in the image of God. But if there is an over-involvement, then steps are taken to not focus on that, to recognize that this is simply a shell, and I should not be focusing on that. Amy.
So, it seems to me so far that someone would take the vow of the Nazirite to refocus themselves, to get back to the spiritual connection with Hashem.
Correct.
And it's a limited amount of time.
It's a limited amount of time. Correct. That's what it seems. Now, yes, and also keep in mind, going back to the first one before we go to the third one, abstaining from wine. The Gemara in Tanit, the tractate which deals with fast days, presents the idea that if a person fasts when one is not required to fast, that is an Aveira. That is a sin. Even though we have many tzaddikim who would take many fasts upon themselves to this day. But on one hand, this world is a gift that God has given us. If you give someone a gift, right? How's that bicycle that I gave you? Oh, it's great. It's still in the garage. It's still in the box. All right? How do you feel about your gift if it's not being utilized? It's insulting. It's insulting. I gave you a gift. Why aren't you using it? You don't want it? It doesn't suit your fancy? Was it the wrong thing that I gave you? So we are supposed to appreciate this world that God gave us and to utilize it in a good, positive manner, not to abuse it anyway, but to utilize it. We view, there's a strange teaching. We learned that Yaakov went back, when Jacob was traveling with his family, he went back for the pachim katanim. He went back to get these little, almost worthless jugs. And Rashi, I believe, Rashi there says, he brings the teaching of the Chazal, of the sages, that to tzaddikim, their mammon, what they own is so dear to them, so precious to them. Right? Even a small amount of money is precious to them. Why? Why is that? Because a person on a certain level understands that everything God gave to me, He gave it to me for a purpose, for me to utilize it. And therefore, right, every penny has its mission, has its purpose. Everything is meant to be used in a positive fashion. Right? It might not be worth a lot to you, but to someone else, who knows what it is. I was talking to someone who Baruch Hashem is moving and making their new house completely kosher. And he said to me, Rabbi, I have so many dishes and so much stuff I'm getting rid of. I said, don't get rid of it. Bring it to Goodwill. There are people who could use it. Don't get rid of it. Don't throw it out. So there's a sense that everything that God gave to me, I need to use it as well as I can. There's a purpose for it. There's a task that it's been tasked with. I've got to find that task. So this world that God has given us, utilize this world. This person is stepping back from this world. Kadosh means a separation. He's separating himself from the world. On one hand, for good reason. For good reason. He recognizes he's getting too involved. There is indiscretion, no wine. There is an overemphasis on the external. Let the hair grow, let the beard grow, let everything grow. Right? And all of a sudden, right, you're not going to be focusing on your looks anymore. Thirdly, that we mentioned already, he's not going to be coming in contact with any deceased to the level of a Kohen Gadol. And we explained, why is it that a Kohen and a Kohen Gadol, why do they not come in contact with a mate? Because they're all about life. They're all about utilization, all about focus, all about the spirit which is eternal, not the physical body which dies and then erodes and decomposes, and coming in contact. It sets us back. We can't help but have the thought, what's the purpose of all this? After all that's been done, this is the end result. It was fascinating. I was having a conversation with someone, one of the people that I'm closest to on this earth, and this person shared, and we were discussing this idea of the Kohen Gadol. We were together for a Shabbos during those Parshiot, and for him, the death of close ones, the death of his mother, really closed him off for decades, until he became observant when he was around his 40s. But death is a shattering blow. It's a shattering blow, and it really makes us. it gives us pause. It can give us second thoughts. It produces doubts. So he becomes like this Kohen Gadol that he can't come in contact. Yes, Janet.
So, in this context, I get the Olah, the elevation offering, and the peace offering, but why the Chatat?
Janet's my plan. Thank you.
Sorry.
Right? Perfect. Right? So we understand that this person is thirsting for spirituality and wants something more, wants something greater. Right? And actually, this is one of the things that you want to be very careful, both Nazir and Sota. Right? The Gemara says, well, don't tell your wife in front of witnesses, I don't want you to be alone with so-and-so. Nowadays, don't do that, because there's no process for her to go through to make her once again become permitted to you. Right? And a person should also not say, I would like to, I think I would become a Nazir. Because without the temple, without the Beit HaMikdash, there is no process to end that. So therefore, you want to stay away from it. So then why then is he bringing a chatas? So on one hand, the sin offering. So on one hand, we might say that, well, he abstained from all of these gifts that God gave him. But wasn't he supposed to abstain? Being that he was getting too involved. So there are different approaches. Ramban explains as follows. Amy, you had said that this was meant to be a reset. Right? This is meant to be a reset. And it really is. Right? A way to refocus oneself. Ramban learns that, actually it brings it over here. If you want to take a look on page 761 in the notes that we have underneath, right, by 14, Lechatat, as a sin offering. Elizabeth, would you like to read or would you rather not? You'd rather not. Okay. Yanni, would you want to read that for us? You'd rather not? Okay. Dove, take it away.
In Hebrew?
No, in the English, in the notes underneath, as a sin offering.
Why does the Nazirite bring a sin offering after a period of sanctity and devotion? Because it would have been fitting to continue the abstinence from worldly pleasure and extend the vow of Nazirism indefinitely. The sin offering atones for his decision to return to temporal pursuit.
Interesting. So Ramban says, once you're there, how do you come back down?
But if someone is really balanced and they've elevated themselves appropriately, aren't you still supposed to come back to appreciating the gifts of God, as you said?
Okay.
I mean, why is it a sin?
I hear
if you are
so
balanced?
Ramban understands, you see, there are different ways of looking at this. One way of looking at this is truly the ideal.
Okay.
But God only gives in the Torah commandments that are able to be fulfilled by everyone. So the Torah's commandments and prohibitions and parameters, that's for everyone. For those who want more, there is a structure to go beyond. So if that's the way we're viewing it, then this is not something, I'm not a sinner for not partaking of the gifts that God has given. God gave that as the general parameters. But for those, and he did not, and that's for everyone. This is not for everyone. This is for those, right? The few, what does the army say? Right, for those who want to go beyond, right, to take it to the next level. This is the formula that God gives for bringing it to the next level, right? And if that's the case, so once you've gone to that next level, how do you come back down? That's Rambam. But there are other ways of looking at it. Yes, Debbie?
I was just going to say, somehow, I don't know why, but I always understood that taking a Nazirite vow was not considered optimal. And that it was something that that Bichlal, the Torah was not thrilled with. That's my feeling, that's what I remember learning.
Yeah.
And I noticed that here, I guess Rabbi Sherman or whoever translated, used the term dissociate right here on page 759, chapter 6, verse 2.
Right.
It says dissociate himself. And that is a negative term.
A negative connotation, yes.
And I leave the rest to you.
Yes. So the first approach, which seems to be the way Ramban is, that there is the general laws for everyone. For those who want to step it up, there's the Nazirite, and now they're really up there, and now you're coming down. That's a disappointment. But there's another approach, and I think Rabbi Schwab offers this approach in his Marache Leiv. I think Rabbi Schwab offers this approach. God gives us the Torah, the laws. And that is meant to give us this equilibrium. We're involved in the world, but we don't get swallowed up by the world. We are meant to be involved in the world. We've mentioned many times, a person is supposed to be married. But there are parameters in terms of how a person conducts, how a married couple conduct themselves when it comes to intimacy. There's a mitzvah, there's a commandment. It's holy, holy, holy. This intimacy between husband and wife within the parameters that the Torah gives. And we're supposed to be involved in this world. And therefore, if a person takes on an unnecessary fast, if a person takes on more abstinence, that's wrong. Unless I see that I'm out of control. I need more. Then a person should take the steps. The famous Rambam, that the middle road is always the proper road to take. However, so I'm supposed to be taking the middle road. But let's say I messed up, and now instead of I'm bending this way, right? So therefore, let me straighten up, right? What happens when I straighten up? I straighten it up. What happens? I'm still leaning that way. What do I need to do to get straight?
Go the other way.
I need to bend the other way a little bit. Oh, now I'm back to being perfectly straight. That's the famous Rambam. That if we're tilting one way, we need to go the other direction in order to actually right ourselves, to make ourselves straight again. So this person is both a kadosh and a chote. Both a holy person and also a sinner. And it's not a contradiction. This person is a chote in that they allowed themselves to get to the point where they needed to take such drastic means in order to right themselves. So according to this, the chote is not for coming back down. The chote is for allowing yourself to get into the situation where you couldn't partake of this incredible world that God has given us. And it's such an incredible world. You walk along, you see the flowers, you see the sky. I mean, it's astounding. And if a person got to the point where they can't fully enjoy, appreciate, and utilize in a positive way this incredible world that God has given us, that person is a chote, is a sinner for getting themselves into that situation. But what should they do in that situation? How many in that situation resign themselves? And that's who they are, and that's what they've become. And that's because what I was that's what I will be. And they lock themselves in to that dismal course because, well, I've done that already. And therefore, at the same time, this person who is a chotei for getting there is a kadosh for taking the steps to get themselves out of the mud. To, like Amy said, to reset, to refocus. So according to that approach, the chotei is not for coming back down. That's the proper thing to do at the appropriate time. The chotei is for getting themselves into that situation, and the kadosh is for taking the steps to get themselves, to extricate themselves from that situation. And therefore, it's, as you mentioned, Debbie, it's to disassociate, right? It's a Nazir Hazil Hashem, but we shouldn't need that. There's a disassociation. And there is a chatas, a sin offering that is brought at the end. At the end, when a person, perhaps, according to that, you might ask, when should the sin offering be brought? According to Ramban, I understand. When is the sin offering brought? At the very end of the Nazirite. Why is the sin offering brought at that point? Because I'm coming back down to earth when I should remain up in the heavens. According to Ramban, I understand why is it brought at the end. According to the explanation that I'm giving, that I believe again is the Marachi Lev. So then why is it brought at the end? When should it be brought?
The beginning.
We're at the beginning, it would seem. Right? I realize that I've gone too far, right? And therefore I've got to abstain from all of these God-given gifts. So why is it brought at the end? Let it be brought at the beginning.
Well, because I want to successfully complete the whole project.
Yeah.
Oh, so you kind of purify and sanctify yourself first.
Yeah.
That's a good
Right?
point, Debbie.
Yeah. The chatas atones for the sin. At what point can I rightfully feel I've atoned for the sin?
Well, you start with a clean slate that way.
Once I've restored the balance. When I'm still teetering off the edge, right? That's not yet the time for the chatas, for the sin offering, right? Now that I've bent the other way and I've restored the balance, now I can bring the chatas. Now I can absolve myself from that sin. And that speaks of the whole idea of karbanos we discussed before. It's not meant to be voodoo. It's not I've sinned and now I take this animal and I kill the animal and I sprinkle. It's not voodoo. It is a process. It is meant to be a heart-wrenching process that brings about a sense of focus and a recalibration and an ability to move forward in the proper way, right? And an ola is brought, an elevation offering is brought, a chatas is brought, a sin offering, and then a karban shlamim is brought. A shlamim is a peace offering, because there is this, shalom, we've discussed before, shalom is peace, is the same root as shalem. Shalem, which is completion. Right? When there's peace, there's a sense of completion. There's a sense of balance. Wholesomeness. Beautiful. Right? And at this point, now, at the end, he's brought the ola, he's brought the chatas, because at this point, that shleimus, that wholesomeness, that balance has been restored. At this point, the karban shlamim is also brought. Someone, Dov, yes.
It's kind of related. Shimshon was a Nazir. The Nazir is supposed to stay away from death. Yet he was killing a lot of people. I don't know how he did it.
Okay, so Shimshon was a Nazir Shimshon, actually. He was a different category, right? He was a Nazir mi beten. He was a Nazir from the womb.
From birth.
From birth, yeah. Now, actually, the Gemara discusses this. The Gemara in Nazir discusses this, and it's not clear that, when he smote different people, right, were they dead at the time of his contact or not? But I believe in Nazir Shimshon, he was a special category. He had a mission, right, and therefore he was allowed to I believe. We'll get there pretty soon, though.
We're gonna be there.
In our Daf Yom, we'll get around to Nazir again,
Yeah.
and we'll double check that. You'll remind me, please,
Yeah.
when we get there.
And there's a
Yes,
dichotomy.
Jen.
Wait, there's a dichotomy, interesting. The Nazir, this guy, for at least 30 days, right? He's supposed to let his hair grow. Where we know the Kohen Gadol gets a haircut every day.
Correct. Yeah.
Every day.
And by the Kohen Gadol we say the Yafiyot Techazena Einecha. I forget the exact pasuk, but the Kohen Gadol always has to, as a representative of the Mara Kohen, right? The song that we sing on Yom Kippur is the Mara Kohen. The vision, the beauty, the glory, the regality of the Kohen as he would leave the Kodesh Kadashim. Yes, the Kohen Gadol's every day, and a regular Kohen it's every 30 days, right? And we also, the reason why we can't get haircuts or trim on Chol HaMoed is because that might be a time that a person will say, I'll have time then, I'll do it then, and they'll come into the Moed looking unkempt, right? And therefore, we say, don't get your haircut on Chol HaMoed. Therefore, people will get their haircut and do their trim before Chol HaMoed, before Yom Tov, so we're meant to look kempt, but in this situation, again, right, because of his overindulgence or over connection to the exterior, he recognizes that and he goes the other direction. Yes, Janet.
So, especially nowadays with no offerings, but aren't there other ways to go about this? Couldn't you say, okay, without taking a vow, I'm going to refrain from wine, I'm going to go with my Rabbi and study more, I'm going to
absolutely.
every day counsel. I mean,
absolutely.
There
AA meetings, Musavad, you name it. There are ways to do it. Yes.
So
yes.
So this is not the only way.
This is a Torah prescribed method which involves karbonos. I mean, but I would definitely agree with you, and that's I mentioned the Rambam before. If a person finds that they're getting too involved in certain things, there need to be safeguards. They need to go in the other direction, and safeguards need to be put into place. One should, for many aspects of indiscretion, there are many tools out there and groups out there to help people with their challenges. And in our world, there are many challenges. There are many who fall prey to these challenges and steps. You're 100% right. That's an excellent point.
So the Torah would
even without the formal process of Nazir, the concept of Nazir, certainly the way that we're explaining it now, that a person is a chote and then he's a kaddish for trying to right the ship, right? The lesson of Nazir is a very, very, very important and powerful one to us. That if we see that we are acting with indiscretion in a certain area, to take the steps to right the ship and to force us. You see, in certain ways, it's easier. It's easier when it's a mitzvah, right? I love chocolate, and I can really overdo chocolate, and I have a hard time controlling myself with. I'm sorry?
Milk or dark?
You name it, right? Mostly milk chocolate.
All right, so substitute dark.
But yeah, but a way that I get past it very simply is I'll take a little piece of fleshik, something meat from the fridge, right? And that's it. That's it.
But there's
I'm
good
not
pork
gonna have the chocolate.
But there's good pork chocolate.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not the answer. That's the problem, right? But so we can take the steps and we need to take the lesson. But there's this, once it is a Torah law, right? So then, often it takes on a whole different
But the
level.
It's not thought of as necessarily praiseworthy at all.
Correct.
That I think is so important.
Correct.
Because we say
Correct.
al tifroshes, that's machamin hatzibur.
Exactly.
The concept of being better or doing this in order to hear better or
Right.
is also
Right. No, that's the chote. Because of my weakness,
yeah.
that's why I need to have this piece of deli. Right? Right? Ideally, right? I should, no, it's not, I've had, or have one or two and enjoy it and make a bracha. But then, it gets hard to stop.
It's the cheesecake right now.
Yeah, the cheesecake, yeah. Not easy. Yes, Eileen.
So is this supposed to be a one-time thing? What if somebody lapses again? I don't see any.
So according to this, it's meant to be a no-time thing. But if one is in that situation, then one needs to right the ship. And if one goes off balance again, then one will need to continuously right the ship. So it's what we call a bidi evet situation. It's not the ideal situation, but if one does find oneself in that situation, then one needs to take the steps to correct it, no matter how many times. I'll leave you with a famous but beautiful lesson from Rav Hutner Zatzal. The pasuk that Rav Hutner was the Rosh Yeshiva in Brooklyn, a yeshiva of Torah V'Das. Chaim Berlin, not Torah V'Das, thank you. Of Chaim Berlin. And there is the Pachad Yitzchak. There is a compilation of his Sfarim with his incredibly deep and meaningful, and brilliant teaching. And he also includes there letters, correspondences that he had with different people. And he includes there, a classic is a letter he received from a student who left the yeshiva. And of course he didn't include the student's name in the sefer. And the student is saying just how down he's getting, because he falls and he picks himself up, but then he falls again, and it's like a never-ending cycle. When will he get himself beyond these challenges that he keeps succumbing to? And and he was feeling so depressed, and he wrote to his Rabbi. He wrote to Rav Hutner Zatzal, and Rav Hutner wrote back to him along the lines, and I'm not going to do it justice, but along the lines that if you tell me everything is going fine, then I would be concerned. Right? And we know by a heart machine, the last thing you want is a straight line. Right? That means there's a straight line, he said, that's spiritual death. If you're not having your ups and downs, your challenges. And this means that you're alive. And he brought the pasuk from Mishlei, Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'kam. A righteous person, a tzaddik, falls 7 times and gets up. And he said the common understanding, which he says is a misunderstanding, is, such a tzaddik. Even though he fell, he got up. He fell, he got up. He fell, he got up. Such a tzaddik. And he says, no. The understanding is, what makes a person a tzaddik? What makes a person a righteous person? It's going through those falls and getting up and falls and getting... It's not such a tzaddik that he got up. It's the process that we go through of the down and up and the down and up and the down and up. And we keep fighting and we keep fighting. That's what makes a person a tzaddik. If a person didn't have those falls and pick themselves up, then they never would have been fully developed and they would never become a tzaddik. And as many times as it takes, Eileen. That's what life's about. That's what we're all about. Constantly falling, and that is what will turn us. That's what can transform a person into a tzaddik, and not to get depressed by it. I'm with one more thing. That one of the nights of Shavuos, the second night of Shavuos, So we were all pretty tired. I gave a very short drasha, right? But Shavuos, we just had Shavuos, right? The time of Matan Torah. It's not the actual Torah that we carry out. That was completed, right, at the end of 40 years, right? But it's the time of Har Sinai, when we heard the Aseret Adib, we heard the Ten Commandments, right? Which led to 40 days later, Moshe coming down with the tablets, which he shattered because he saw us with the Chet HaEgel. So Rav Volbe Zatzal asks, why are we celebrating Shavuos, which was sort of a failed step? This was the step which led to the shattered luchos. So what's the celebration? But the shattered luchos, the broken luchos, are also in the Holy of Holies, in the Holy Ark, in the Aron Kodesh. And it's the process. It's the process that brings to fruition. And we can't discount the process and the falls. Not that we look to have the falls. We try our best not to have the falls. But we recognize that when we do have those falls, that is all part of the process. And that's Nazir then, and that is Nazir today. Yeah.
It's kind of an exemplar because there was a bit of reason for